Chanel. I done bought a new Chanel. I done bought a new Chanel because we made it. I done bought a new Chanel because we dated.
What's goody, y'all? Back at it again with another hair video. You see my lips moving right now because I'm in here jigging, you know, that's the only way. But to keep going forward this video, I've already washed my hair and everything. I used Shea Moisture, Hydrate and Repair shampoo and conditioner. After I washed it, before this video as well, I went in and added Uncle Funky's Daughter's Curly Magic step and also added some Dove amplified shaping butter into this piece. Okay, now for this part, I want to make sure that you guys know when I'm going through and doing this, I started to comb out my hair, but when you have product in there, sometimes when you comb it out, it takes a lot of that product out. So if you do want to go through and comb it out like how I did on the bottom, you can if you feel it's necessary. Also on this clip, I won't be having precise parting. Anytime I do a twist hairstyle, I never use precise parting because I just feel that it's unnecessary to do that. In this part too, as you see, I just held up the first step. Make sure when you go through and use these products, you're making sure that the products are going all throughout your hair. So if you watch me put this on, I make sure to put it all throughout my hair. In that section I'm doing, putting my fingers in between that patch of hair that I pulled out and make sure I'm taking it all the way from the roots to the tips of my hair. That's very important if you want your twist out to stay moisturized and maintain a certain look. And yeah, you'll see in this part, I just want to point it out, like how I comb the ends. Once I start getting into the middle to the top of my head, I don't necessarily comb it all the way. Now, even though I went and added in the first step, when I get each unprecise section of my hair to start a twist piece, I go through and add a little bit more in that section just to make sure that section is very moisturized in itself and not just a complete section. Now, when you start twisting the hair, you want to make sure that when you start twisting it, that the root of the twist is tight. If the root of the twist isn't tight, then most likely your twist will not hold up as good. When you get to the ends of the hair, you may have to cheat and pull some hair away from the other piece strand that you have. Like, especially if you have layers, the end of your hair, it may not be equal. So you may not have as much of a strand as you do the other strand. So I would just go ahead and take some hair from the other strand and just continue to twist evenly until you feel like you have enough twisting at the end. Also, when you get to the end, you can do what I do and maybe like grab a comb just to comb out the ends and make sure everything is good. But for the most part, you should be solid. Now, on this next clip, you'll see that I'm starting over because I'm looking at the size of the twist. And I do not like the size of the twist. So I honestly just kept this piece of the video in here just to show you guys that it is okay to start over. Like, even though I've done this a bunch of times, I still mess up and sometimes I have to go back and start over. But the better and better you practice at it, well, the more and more you practice at it, you'll become better and better with doing this hairstyle. So I just wanted to show y'all how I had to start over because I wanted my twists actually bigger. I didn't want any small twists because that takes a little more time. But I'll go ahead and fast forward this part because you're still doing the same steps and taking in the same steps and taking in the same tips that I mentioned before in the last few clips. Okay, y'all, we finally moving on up. We finished the first row. Now it's time to move on to the next row. Now, an important thing to take in with what I do with these next rows is that I'll try to fill in the gaps of the lower row. So being that I'm doing them bigger, that means there'll be like more gaps in between each twist. In each row, I'll try to fill in the gaps of the lower row to ensure that everything is covered. It look good, you know, the hairstyle feeling right, you feeling right, and it's just a big vibe. Now, with this part of the hairstyle, I want you guys to really pay attention to what I said before, how I try to fill in the gaps of the rows underneath. So you see how that one that's already finished to the left of this, it's kind of covering the gap to the bottom part on the left side. And then what I'm doing right now, since the two at the bottom split in the middle, this one will cover that middle gap that was in between them. But that was the main thing I want you guys to focus on. And the key thing too with this part, when you get to this part of the head, you're going to have to start the twist from behind your head. And then when you get a little bit lower in the twist, then you'll be able to actually move it to the side and go to like a more comfortable place to finish the twisting off. See, now this part of the video, I have fumbled the bag because I was supposed to be recording this part the whole time to show you guys how the front part of your hair is supposed to do, or like different ways you could do the front part of your twist to make sure it looks like, you know, like a cute style. Man, but folks wasn't even recording. So anyways, with this part of the video, I may just want to explain to you guys that your hair may be dry at this point. You'll know if your hair is drier than when you first started. And you just may have to go back and add in more products or some of the products that I mentioned in the beginning. how they're not really a part of my steps to doing my twist, but they are part of my preparation to start the twist. So you might have to add in more products like that just to make sure your twists come out the right way. Okay, now we get into the real deal Holyfield stuff now, y'all, because now we about to do the front of the head. Now, the front of the head isn't hard, but if you see right now, I'm not doing precise parting. Remember we mentioned that? I mentioned that before. And I'm trying to measure the parts to both sides of my head because you want the parts to somewhat match so you're not looking crazy, you know? So you want the parts to somewhat match in the front, so it's important to measure both sides of your head. As you can see, I had to whip out that edge control, okay? So after you go through and moisturize that front strand, you want to go ahead, get your good old edge control, whatever product you use. As you see, I just held up a Carol's Daughter's edge control. I really like her edge control. It's probably one of the best edge controls I've used. It rarely turns white, like in the front too. I hate when the edge control turns white and it gets like really clogged up. But her edge control is pretty good. So I usually go through and add the edge control on, and then I start the process of swooping the edges. And then once you swoop the edges, you want to make sure you're twisting somewhat going back. So you need to make sure you're holding that first strand, and you make sure you're twisting the first strand behind the back strand that you're holding. You'll get a better understanding of it as I move on through this part. But just keep in mind that you'll be taking the first strand to twist behind the back strand, just to make sure your edges stay laid in the front. For the rest of the video, it'll be a lot of fast forwarding because I pretty much gave you guys all the tips that I'm using. If you see me in the back of the middle of my head, just make sure that you start your twist closer to the root with both arms in the back and then eventually move the twist to either side for a comfortable position. If you're in the front, make sure both sides of your parts match. Put a little edge control in there, swoop the babies up, you feel me? And make sure you use the front strand going backwards to the back strand that you're using, because this makes sure that your swoop stay lit, you feel me? But keep watching. If I think of any more tips, then I'll put them on there, but for the most part the rest of the stuff will be fast forward.
things that have happened this week. One of those things being my car got hit, right? I don't even know how she hit my car, y'all. Like, you had to either be backing out or you had to be T-boning me. Like, I don't even know why you were parked this way anyway. Whenever
She
you
had
this
to be
way,
backing
like,
out.
bruh.
That's the only way I can see that happening.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is crazy. Your girl passed. Didn't fail not nail one test. It's not what I
now we gotta keep that shit up. Hopefully y'all don't get lazy.
You feel me?
Hopefully y'all don't get lazy.
All freaking
We're gonna be so tired.
day.
That's all I'm gonna say. Uh-oh.
I gotta prepare myself.
You wanna curl up? All right, y'all, that's the finish line. We at the ending. I'm just showing y'all what I'm going to do with my twist. So I decided to put my twist in the half up and then half down look. It's a cute look for me, you know, if you just want a different look, because them down, I don't be feeling them just straight down. I'll be feeling like I'll be looking like a little boy. So I'll be having to put them half up, half down, so look up the baby Johns, and then you saw it, y'all. But that's how I do my 2-strand twist, to wear them for a couple days in a look, and eventually I took them down and I think wore them in a poof, or like put a bandana over the front, you know, to like kind of slick up the edges, give it another look. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and look out for more.